Meeting of the El Centro City Council to order. And at this time, we would ask that our city clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva.
Present.
Mayor Villegas Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Cardenas.
Present.
And Councilmember Sanders.
Here. If you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's go ahead and pray. Father God, thank you again for this evening that you have given us, Father God. We're just grateful for those that are here today, Father God, this evening. Lord, we just ask that you continue to bless us and give us wisdom, Lord, as we do your work here in our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
My apologies. Apparently, I thought long and hard about asking Mr. Jackson to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but forgot to verbalize that. You know, since he lost his job with the psychic hotline, he couldn't read that. So, with that, we'll move forward with the city attorney, Ms. Becker, closed session report from our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On a motion by Councilmember Silva, second by Councilmember Sanders, the City Council met in closed session at 11:31 a.m. All council members were present, with Councilmember Jackson arriving at 11:34 a.m. and Councilmember Cardenas arriving at 12:35 p.m. A report was given to council on the anticipated litigation item. There is no action to report, but direction was given to staff. Council met with its labor relations negotiator, Terry Brownlee, Human Resources Director, concerning labor matters for all units. There are agreements with the general employees, certified wastewater treatment plant operators, and supervisory, professional, and technical employees bargaining units coming out of closed session for approval. Direction was given to staff with respect to the Teamsters bargaining unit, and no other units were discussed. There was an item added to the closed session agenda because the council determined that there is a need for immediate action which cannot reasonably wait for the next regularly scheduled meeting. Moved by Councilmember Silva, seconded by Councilmember Jackson, to add an anticipated litigation item regarding significant exposure to litigation against the city to the closed session agenda. Motion carried 4-0 with Councilmember Cardenas absent. A report was given in regard to the added item with no final action to report. Council met to discuss the performance evaluations of the city manager, city attorney, and city clerk. The acting city manager and city attorney were excused from closed session at approximately 12:34 p.m. and closed session concluded at 1:05 p.m. And that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
The one item I would ask to be added is that Mr. Cardenas did join us for closed session at approximately 12:15, 12:20?
It was about 12:35.
12:35. Apparently, I'm not good at verbalizing or telling time. So, 12:35, if we would add that, please. Any other comments? We're going to go ahead and move forward. We have two scheduled public comments, and then we have also chamber representative here, as well as Ms. Berryman. Are you here? Very good. Rather than having you wait until the next comment period, which is towards the end of our agenda, what we'll do is we'll move forward with our two scheduled appearances to be followed by the chamber and then Ms. Berryman. All right? Okay, so at this time we'd like to call up Sergeant Leonard Barra, City of Imperial Police Department, regarding the Imperial County Gang Intelligence Coalition. And that will be followed by a presentation by the Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center.
Good evening, City Mayor, Council, and citizens. My name is Sergeant Leonard Barr from the Imperial Police Department, and I'm the chair of the Imperial County Gang Information Coalition, along with my partners here, and they're going to introduce themselves right now.
Hello, my name is Luis Hernandez. I'm a detective with the City of El Centro. How you doing? My name is Obed Flores. I'm with the United States Probation Office. Good evening, Gerardo Guerrero, U.S. Border Patrol.
Once again, I'm Sergeant Leonard Barr from the Imperial Police Department. What we're here today is we're going to every city council and also to any kind of city community events and explain what we're about. The Imperial County Gang Coalition is a coalition that's made up, I'm sorry if I turn my back to you, but I also want to talk to the citizens also, so I apologize for that.
But you should do it sideways.
Okay. What I want to do is explain what we're about. We also talk to every chief in the county. Chief Mondueño has been real supportive with us. He's one of the main chiefs that are helping us out, along as also with Detective Hernandez has been very helpful, not with just our gang coalition, but other investigations that's been happening in other agencies such as Brawley, Imperial, Calexico, even the county, the sheriff's department. The gang coalition is made of all local, federal, and state agencies that are here in Imperial County. And what we do is we get together once a month and discuss incidents that happen here in the valley that actually you might start in Calexico, but once we start sharing information, we find out that it's gang related and it also affects other cities here in the county. And for example, and I always bring this up, one of them, we had a federal agent from Homeland Security. He was explaining how this new gang in Mexicali was forming and how they have ties in Calexico. Once we started discussing what was going on, we noticed that it went from Mexicali, Mexico, to Calexico, to a street in Imperial. And that was done in less than maybe like 10, 15 minutes to half an hour of just sharing information. And it was good information. It had to do with narcotics and it had to do with alien smuggling. Like I said, the Gang Coalition meets once a month, and what we do is we get together and we share information and try to put the pieces all together, because something that happens here in El Centro, almost 90% of the time has ties to all the way up to Bombay Beach, Brawley, Nyland, and even Sealy. And Detective Hernandez, on a couple of our cases, when our detective, myself, came up to him and asked, hey, this is what's going on in Imperial, he had a lot of information, more than anything that anybody else could help us. And he's been helping us a lot on most of our cases. The Gang Coalition is not just about gangs and sharing information, but we also try to help out the community. You want to talk about the community thing? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening again. My name is Obed Flores with U.S. Probation. What we're going to be trying to do is we're going to start reaching out to the school districts, and we're going to be offering our services in order to be able to basically educate the children, educate hopefully also some of the teachers and administrators and the problems with gangs. Even though Imperial County is considered kind of like small community, we have noticed obviously that there is a gang issue in every city in the county. So again, that's our next step. We're going to start reaching out to the school districts and offering to basically give a presentation to them for older students and again, teachers and staff. Also, we're planning first ever a conference, first ever gang conference in Imperial County. We're going to be inviting all the other gang coalitions and the gang task force of California, Arizona, and Nevada. We're hoping to have that ready for next year. We have currently the support of the California Gang Association. I don't know if you guys were aware, but San Diego has a gang unit. Riverside, Coachella, they have a gang unit. Imperial County was kind of like a gray area. There was nothing here. So once we kind of told them that we were starting this, everybody's been very supportive, and they were actually very happy that we're starting something here where now we're going to be all linked up together and be able to obviously share more information and be able to solve crimes if needed. Also, I'll introduce you to, again, my partner, Jerry Guerrero, I'm sorry. And he also has a lot more information on these possible gang conference that we'll be having. Okay.
Good afternoon again, Gerardo Guerrero. Just like my partner was saying, that this is what we're trying to create in Imperial County is we're trying to create a coalition because that's what it is. It's a coalition. We are not funded. We are not. There is no outside funding or anything like that going on. So what we're trying to do is create something for Imperial County, which could become self-sustaining. And self-sustaining meaning that we do not depend on funds, we do not depend on certain things that you know, there have been groups before here in Imperial County that have been created, but those have come about because of, you know, funding that was able to be obtained for that specific purpose. Unfortunately, a lot of times with the economic crisis, I guess, you know, the way the economy has been, when that funding is not available, whatever has been worked on by local law enforcement is usually pretty much lost, because at that point in time, without any funding, you cannot continue. So more importantly, what we're trying to create is a group that is self-sustaining and is established here in Imperial County for the purposes of, you know, obviously local law enforcement coordination, but at the same time, we also want to reach out, like one of my partners said, Obed Flores, reach out to the community, not just the local law enforcement community, but the local citizens community, where we can reach out to, whether it's through the schools, or we can reach out even through having some kind of meetings with the local citizens, so they can kind of, if there's anything that they would like to see happen, or there are things that they, you know, have noticed and things like that, we're trying to work together with the community at the same time. We're not just trying to make anything specific to law enforcement. We're trying to make it a community, because we are a small community here in Pearl County, and I believe that's one of the best things that we can do is work with each other. Thank you.
We want to thank you for your time, and we also like to thank the citizens for letting us come out here and talk to you. This gang coalition, it's not just about you know, sharing information. What we also want to do is an incident. When they had to do investigations, they make contact with, say, if you have a gang member here in El Centro or Calexico, and they contact them and they find out, yes, I am a gang member out of El Centro or Calexico. And what we do, we document it. Once we document it, that individual can do an incident maybe 2 years later on. And just because of that one paper or the document, when this individual gets arrested, it could be the difference between 3 years probation or mandatory 5 years in prison. And that incident can be involved with another kid, or it can be involved with the elderly, or just any one of us. And this gang coalition, we try to help each other out, and not just the members of the coalition, but also every member in law enforcement. This is how important it is. We're also here to ask that if something comes up, we really appreciate it if you can help out Chief Manuel with anything he needs. We would like to have Detective Hernandez, he goes to our meetings every week, and we also like to have school resource officers go to our meetings every month, because we noticed that the school resource officers here in Imperial County, they have more information than probably anybody that has to do with gangs. So this is very important. Like I said, an incident interview or some documentation that happens tonight can actually be very effective 2 years from now, and it could be to any one of us or any member of our family or a person that we know. We thank you very much, and if we have any questions, please contact Detective Hernandez. And citizens, if you have any questions here in El Centro, please contact myself or Detective Hernandez. We're willing to help you guys out. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Sergeant. I think we do. Mr. Jackson?
Not really a question or any questions, but you know, a comment that you know, it seems like this is way past due. So I'm glad to see that this coalition's come together and is helping document this. Do you have members or a representative from the DA's office also on this coalition?
Yeah, actually, yes, we do. We have DA investigators and a deputy district attorney that actually goes to our meetings. And this person doesn't just share information with us. He gives us, he leads us in the right direction with the coalition also, and he's very, very effective.
Good. Good. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Silva?
Just a couple of things. I think, Obed, you mentioned a possible tri-state conference coming up next year. Can you tell me more about that, and like, where do you think, any plans of where it's going to be, or?
Yes, and actually, if you don't mind, Mr. Silva, if I can have Mr. Guerrero, he's the one that actually has a little more knowledge on that, because he's the one that's been in contact with the California Gang Association, so he'll probably be able to provide more information than what I can provide to.
The conference that we will be planning, it is in its early stages at this time, just because we are in our early stages as well. So one of the main things that we also wanted to do is bring training to Imperial County. Instead of having to send officers outside of the county or send them to another state, where you know, it would cost, you know, the city, the police department's money, we started thinking about what is it that we can do as a group, besides the other stuff that we're trying to do. What else can we do to make ourselves more effective? And one of those things is going to be to bring training into Imperial County, and not just training, but also bring you know, specialized instructors that maybe a lot of the local law enforcement have never been able to attend a training because of funds. So now maybe we can bring that into Imperial County. So that is in the early stages. There will be a lot of planning. We do hope to, once we get moving with that, we do hope to reach out to local cities, because we are going to need a venue where that will be located at. We need to figure out, you know, hotels and accommodations and all that kind of stuff, because what we're hoping is to bring also not just a local community here, but also bring, you know, outside law enforcement. So they will be traveling here and hopefully attending these conferences. This is not the first one. There are many conferences, and I think Imperial County has something special to offer. So that's why we decided to start working on that. It is going to be a process. Like I said, it is going to be a lot of work, and we definitely are in the early stages, but we do have a goal of what it is exactly that we want to do, and work towards that goal to accomplish it and make it happen.
In terms of the possible location or accommodation, I'd like to kind of throw out there IVC as a possible location with our new science building. I think that's a perfect place for a conference of this
Yes.
magnitude, depending on how many people you have, but you have a large auditorium that holds about 150 people comfortably. You have breakout rooms where you can do individual sessions. Our new safety building will have some of the technology, some of the equipment that may be necessary. So I just want to offer that as a potential site, depending on how many people you expect.
Yes.
If you go, you know, 200 or plus, you may need a larger venue, but I think
Right.
that's something that I'd like to offer. My other
Thank you.
question is, as it relates to the gravity of our gang problem in Imperial Valley, can you give me a sense of your perspective or someone's perspective, how grave that may be, and is that sense of gravity being diminished, or is it increasing, or where are we at? And third, you know, what can we do as elected officials, as a city council, to promote? I know we have the right chief in place, and we'll support our chief, but beyond that, what else can we do to try to help your cause?
On the gravity, I would like to bring in Detective Hernandez, because he has been one of the main detectives that has been involved in gang cases here in Imperial County. He has been qualified as a gang expert in court. So I would really, instead of bringing my experience, I would like to bring his experience into play here.
As far as the magnitude of Imperial County with gangs, it is a growing issue. I see it here in El Centro a lot. There's a very active gang here in El Centro, very violent. Last few years, they've had a lot of assaults. One of the things that our goal is obviously prevention, to try and influence the kids that are growing up instead of having the gang influence them. One of the good things about our coalition is we're not assigned to go. The people that started the coalition are people that actually like working gangs, and it's voluntary. So I think that has a lot to do with our goal and what we can accomplish.
Again,
I think
okay,
Mr. Flores
oh,
has
sorry.
something else to add.
To answer your other question, Mr. Silva, about what can you guys provide, what can you guys help us out with, we've been asked by other city councils the same question. And really, as Mr. Guerrero mentioned to you guys, we're self-sustained, so we're really not asking for any money. We're not here to ask for, for money. The only thing we ask is for their support, your support, to allow Mr. Madueño to give Mr. Hernandez the opportunity to attend those meetings. Again, it's only about 2 hours a month that we would take him out of his shift or his, assigned position. And same thing with the school resource officers, as Mr. Guerrero mentioned. We're also going to be talking to the school districts for that same reason, so that they know that those 2 hours are not being wasted. Hopefully they don't think that we're just getting together, having lunch, and having a great time. Because as Mr. Guerrero mentioned, when we started this, it was because we volunteered to do so. We were not assigned, we were not forced, we were not told by one of our chiefs or supervisors to go to these meetings. We started because we felt, as you mentioned, that it was way overdue. We needed something in place in Imperial County, and it was just a few of us getting together. We started last August, and again, it was just maybe 3 or 4 that we started talking about this, and it started growing and growing to the point where right now we're over, I would say, maybe 60, 70 members. It got so big where we actually talked about, kind of limiting to maybe 2 or 3 officers per agency because it was kind of getting out of control. So again, that's all we're basically asking is your support to allow, obviously, Chief Madueño the opportunity to continue, give us this great resource, which is Mr. Hernandez. Again, he's a great resource. He's one of, if not the expert in Imperial County, one of the most knowledgeable officers. So we definitely need his support. And again, we do know that the school resource officers also have a lot of knowledge that they can provide. The problem in the past is, each officer had a lot of knowledge, but it was not shared, it was not communicated. So, if you needed something from Raleigh, me, for example, being with the feds, I really didn't know who to call. Who do I talk to? Then I would maybe call to place a call to one of the officers, and the officer would be like, well, I don't know much about it. This way, we've identified who are the people that know their cities the best and know the gang issues the best, and those are the people that are actually participating with us, and we're able to accomplish a whole lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, just real briefly, again, I echo Councilmember Silva and Councilmember Jackson, their comments. My questions were related to community stakeholders. In a gang coalition, do they typically bring in community resources as well, or community stakeholders as part of the coalition? Is that a common practice?
At this point, because we do share some
Right.
law enforcement sensitive information, we're kind of careful as to who can basically come and attend our meetings. However, we have invited some people that we kind of vested, allowed them to be in. I'll give you an example of one would be, for example, the director of the Residential Reentry Center in Brawley. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are aware, but this is a place where we are holding, federal inmates that are not only from Imperial County, they're from San Diego County, they're from Arizona, they're from Coachella. So now we're getting more gang members into our communities, and as you know, sometimes these places are kind of like a university for criminals where they start sharing information, they make their own connections. So we are allowing the director of that facility to come join us so that he can share whatever's going on in their facility. We at one point would like to bring maybe the community as mentioned, but it would be maybe to one of the portions of our meeting where we can discuss some of the things. And then obviously then have the second portion of our meeting, which would be closed doors and again, more law enforcement sensitive information.
That's great. And in terms of, has there been an identified stakeholder in Mexico or Mexicali that we can maybe work with as well, or is there already some collaboration there?
Mr. Guerrero had mentioned that in our conference that we're planning to do, where we wanted to kind of be unique, where, do something that nobody really has done, because there are a lot of gang conferences. Right. We actually wanted to do a binational one. So we are starting to identify people that are in Mexico that could come and give us, their take as to what's going on in Mexicali so that we can bring that. I'm working currently right now with Judge Lewis, actually, who has a lot of connections with the Mexican government, and he's the one that's actually kind of putting us in touch with certain people. Obviously, we just don't want to bring just anybody for the same reason, because it's, right. It's kind of sensitive information that we're sharing here. So we want to make sure that whoever we're bringing on board, it's obviously a person of high integrity, high character, and somebody obviously that has a lot of knowledge.
That's great. And then my last question, just related specifically to the juveniles, and that's kind of where my passion is, the juveniles. And is there any specific programs, any vision there on how we're going to handle maybe deterring or preventing juveniles from going into gangs or participating?
Unfortunately, today, one of our best juvenile probation officers, which is Frank Martinez, I don't know if you guys are aware of him, he's actually been assigned to the Calexico side, and he knows Calexico like the back of his hand. He has a lot of knowledge on juveniles. He always shares information about what's going on with the juveniles, and also, again, some of the school resource officers have been attending and have also been sharing information. As I've indicated to you, our next step, our next goal after we get all the city councils on board, we've already done all the chiefs, we're doing the city councils. Our next step is now starting to target all the school districts. And again, we definitely want to bring prevention to the schools and basically, start giving them the tools and kind of start how to identify any issues, how to identify any problems. and we're open to whoever wants us to, provide any type of information. Definitely, we're there. We'll give, again, our time to go and do any type of presentations that they want us to.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Thank you. Thank you. I wish to thank the gentlemen for coming to share with us their vision on how we might be able to nip this in the bud, if you will. I think this happens about every generation. We see the generation of some number of years ago that was headed by then Chief Harold Carter, Superintendent of Schools John Anderson, and here we are again talking the same issue. So I see this as a generational thing. Those young people that were involved then have grown up to be men and perhaps fathers of some of these young people that are involved now, or they're incarcerated. But as you look for your particular broadening your scope as it relates to your members of your coalition, don't overlook the Centinela prison and some of those officers there. I think that would be an ideal individual that could come and be some assistance to you.
Actually, we have both prisons that represent.
Both prisons,
Yeah,
okay.
they go to our meetings regularly, and it's funny you say that. Once they get into our meetings, we start talking to Centinela, we start talking to Calapat, and then we have the county jail that comes in, and it's like they're on one page. They
Good.
mention names, and everybody else like, okay, yeah, we know who that is. We're sharing information, and they're
Okay.
always helpful with us.
Well, that's very good. I'm happy to hear that that's there. I'm also happy to hear that you're involving the schools and the resource officers at the various school sites. I think that's a good one. As we talk about various things to do, prevention, reduce, and then try to help eliminate young people from wanting to gravitate toward the gang and or the gang wannabes. So that's going to be a huge thing, and I think Mr. Garden is saying he's quite interested in teenagers, and so are all of the rest of this council. And if you're asking for this council to make not a financial commitment, but certainly a commitment as far as human resource, I don't think that there would be a problem with that as long as Chief Medueno can identify that particular person. You've already said is Hernandez, so I'm sure he will continue to move forward in that direction.
Thank you. We do appreciate that.
I'd like to commend all of you on your initiative to bring this together, and it's certainly very well needed. Not only the sharing of information, which is fantastic, but again, as the comments here, we're much more interested in the ability to prevent folks from gravitating to this as a way of life. The only question I have, and maybe it's a little soon in the process, but have you seen if there is any impacts from realignment, where we have more of the long-term folks that have been now assigned to the local jails and then the release back into our community? Have we noticed if that's having a negative effect yet, or too soon to tell?
It's a little too soon to tell, but there's little impacts right now. But like we said, we're trying to prevent incidents that happen or issues that come up, and that's what we're trying to do, because we're aware of that problem that could happen, and that's what we focus on, and we're going to try to stick together and share. That's what I say, share information to prevent any of these incidents that has to do with realignment.
Okay. Again, thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate the message, and maybe we can advance this a year, and you can come back and give us an update on your progress.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
and
it.
especially want to thank the City Council, the citizens of El Centro, especially Chief Hernandez and Chief Medueno. He's been very helpful with us, and when I had to sit down with him, he says, just tell me what you need, and we'll do it. And thank you very much. We do appreciate
Very
it.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is a presentation from the Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Walker and fellow City Council members. My name is Sylvia Marroquin. I'm the Center Manager at the Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center, and this is my teammate, Katie Ninos. She is our social media advisor. And what we would like to do is just kind of give you an update of what is going on in our center and how we've progressed. But first of all, I'd also like to mention that our director, Carlos Figari, was scheduled to present this evening. Unfortunately, he has some family medical issues that he had to tend to, so he was not able to attend. So guess who's presenting? So what we would like to do is just give you an idea of what it is that we do. Okay, and so we provide one-on-one counseling services to business owners and prospective business owners, and in the areas of such as, how to best manage their business or operate their business to make it a success. Okay, we also assist our members in credit repair in order to enhance their credit worthiness, because the primary reason why we're there is to help our members seek financing. That is the number one reason why they come for our assistance. And so in order to do that, many of our clients' credit has been affected because of the recession. And so we help them repair their credit so then they are more credit worthy, and we can help them obtain the financing that they need to expand or grow their businesses. We also help in the development of business plans, because that is the number one thing that a lender requires, is a business plan plus all of the financial statements that go along with this, such as financial projections and or a cash flow analysis. Okay, and aside from those, we also provide marketing services and social media advice, because that is the trend nowadays, and so we also help our members, or our clients, excuse me, with that in order to promote their business, again, to help them make it a success, because our goal is to help our clients be successful in business. And with each counseling appointment, our goal there is to move them forward one step each time they come in to see us. Okay. We also offer an array of workshops, such as topics such as startup workshops for those people that are maybe thinking about going into business, but they don't know what it entails. And we also offer entrepreneurship courses. And this is a little bit more advanced than just the startup workshops, and we delve a little bit deeper into what it really takes to run a business. And one other series that we're also offering is the export series, and we hope to make this an annual presentation. And plus, we also conduct quite a few workshops on marketing and social media. We also like to brag about our successes, and one of our biggest success stories is Buddy Sweets, which is located here in the city of El Centro. As a matter of fact, they were awarded with the Innovator Award at the annual Imagine Award ceremony. So that is one business that is it is growing by leaps and bounds. I know that I have personal friends who take their pets there, and they just expanded on their services, and we're really proud of them. One other business that is opening soon, and this is a client that we've been working with for at least a year and a half, and he is going from one single hot dog cart into the old Subway that is over in the Kmart shopping center. So he will be opening probably within the next month or two. Okay, so we're excited about that as well. Included with the copies of the presentation are our annual progress report. Okay, and some of the numbers that we included in there are, the numbers that we are proud about, because, we have progressed so much within the last couple of years. And just to kind of give you some clarification on some of the terms that we provide in there, a long-term client is someone that we see, it's not just a single visit, 1-hour visit. A long-term client is someone who returns and we've met with them for at least 5 hours or more. So that is one of our goals, is to develop those relationships with our clients, so that if we provide the assistance with the area of business that they need at that point, then they continue to come back, and we continue with other services to assist them with their small businesses. We have assisted our clients in obtaining over $3 million in capital infusion, meaning this is either money that they invested in their business, or financing that they obtained through a local lender. And we've helped create 30 jobs. And that's a number that's not easy to obtain, but we also assisted one of our clients in obtaining a big award through the IID, and that's how we were able to obtain that. New business starts, we're proud of this number, because it's not easy. Many clients come to us with no funds, and they want to open a business, but that's why we will work with them to help them get to that point. Okay, and then we also included some of our numbers, such as the number of workshops that we've conducted within the last fiscal year, and how many attendees we've had, and the counseling hours that we accumulate with our clients. So that is a copy of the report that we included, the colored page that we included with the copy of the presentation. And, you know, our team consists of our director, of course, Carlos Figari, myself, and Katie in the office. We also have a team of specialized business advisors that we call upon whenever a client needs assistance in a specific area of business that, you know, maybe we can't provide all of that with. But just recently, we brought Daniel Fitzgerald on board, and Susan Waddell is our QuickBooks specialist. Sue Giller and Bill Gay, they help us with marketing, public relations, and so on. And then David Wells is a wealth of knowledge, and he can provide us a lot of assistance with either financing, accounting, you know, just overall general business assistance. So we are available, you know, to assist any business owner within the city of El Centro, within the county. And we are a grant-funded program in part by the Small Business Administration and other funding sources that are available to us come from either the cities or the County of Imperial. And so this evening we would like to share our appreciation for your contribution to our center, because it really does help us, you know, in providing the services that we provide to our clients. And I might add that the services that we provide are at no cost to them. So that concludes my presentation.
Outstanding. Thank you. We'll start on this end. Any questions or comments?
I have no questions. I just want to compliment them on the presentation. It was done very well. Nicely done.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders.
You know, I just had one quick question, and
Sure.
again, I do appreciate you guys coming in and sharing, but could you give our council just some feedback on what are business owners saying about operating in El Centro? I mean, are we business friendly? Is there anything that we can do to maybe attract more businesses? Any feedback you can give us?
You know, one of the areas that is that I've gotten comments about recently is the downtown area. You know, and I am currently assisting one client who really wanted to open up a storefront. Okay, and he was looking at the areas most heavily trafficked. You know, the mall, their rates on rent and leases is just horrendous, and that there's no way that our small business owners could afford that. And so his other option was, you know, the downtown area, but what his concern was is that it's just, there's so many vacant locations, spaces down there, that it's just not attractive, you know, to the community to go down there and shop. And so, you know, that's one of the concerns that we've heard. And so it's really, and I know that in the downtown area, there's a lot of absent landlords. And so it's really hard to, you know, this particular client, he actually tried to get a hold of someone to get a quote on the Old Desert Flowers building, because it was, the space was just perfect for what his vision was, and with no success. And so many of these vacant landlords, or absent landlords, excuse me, are just not interested. They don't want to do anything with that building. They don't want to. They don't want the trouble of having to go through, you know, the rental process. And if they're selling, you know, it's something that's out of our clients' budget. You know, they can't afford to just buy a building, you know, especially when they're starting out. So that's probably one of the most common concerns that we hear.
Thank you.
Mr. Silva?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Sylvia, for the presentation. And as those of you that know me, we've had a long relationship with SBDC, going back to IBC and our previous mayor, Mr. Solomon, who was the executive director. So I understand the services that you provide and the value that it brings to people. So I've always been a supporter of SBDC.
Thank you.
First of all, the hot dog business, is that the hot dog vendor that set up at the Kennedys?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good hot dogs.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
he should
Mr.
do well.
Cervantes. Yeah, he should do well. Okay,
Very
so
good hot dogs.
we're excited about that one.
Can you put the slide that had the numbers of people and all that? Can you guesstimate, or maybe tell me, how many of those have ties to El Centro?
I would probably say about 50. how many have ties to El Centro? No, the numbers of the jobs created, I know that the jobs created, maybe about a third of those are tied to El Centro because this is one client that is servicing the entire county, okay, through this award that he received from the IID. And so, yes, so I would say about a third of those are in the city of El Centro. The new business starts, I would say at least 6 of those are here in El Centro, okay? And the workshops, we try to represent all areas of the county, so we spread ourselves around, and actually, we take our show on the road. You know, we don't just all have them in the center. We try to cover the north end, the south end, and the central part of the Imperial Valley. And so this is the number of attendees is an accumulation of all the workshops that we've conducted during this fiscal year. Okay.
And lastly, Sylvia, I'm going to suggest that you come back and give us these reports, because I think they're very useful for all of us. You know, when we start looking at the budget, we have to make budget decisions, and being able to clearly identify and remember the value that companies or businesses or agencies like yours provides is helpful, as we have to make sometimes very difficult budget decisions.
Yes.
And so keep us informed. Keep Marcella informed, because we rely on her recommendations extensively as well. So, you know, come back and give us this information, because it was very good information for me to understand better now.
Maybe every 3 to 6 months would be 6 months.
Well, let Marcella, you and kind of talk about
Okay.
it, but the timing, I think the timing of the presentations are pretty critical as well.
Yes, thank you. You know, and I might also add that capital infusion, I think about half of that amount of money was just invested here in El Centro. So, you know, that's another big accomplishment, and, you know, something that we're proud of, that we serve the city as well.
Okay.
You know, so.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation, and I echo a lot of what Mr. Silva just said. Timing is obviously an issue on presentation, and I think that certainly for myself, I was not as familiar with what the services were and what you provide, and you know, we always have to make decisions. We're in budget and where monies are allocated. So I would suggest, I concur with Mr. Silva, you know, work with Marcella and certainly come back and do another presentation before our next round of budget talks on where our allocations go. But it's good to see that, you know, some of these businesses, I'm certainly familiar with Buddy Sweets and the girls over there, and they're doing a really good job. And so I'm glad to see that they were one of the businesses that you guys assisted with. So good job.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to come back.
We
and
appreciate you
certainly
being
will.
here and sharing the information. We look forward to you coming back. Wish there was something that we could do to jumpstart downtown. It's going to be that first business
Well-
going in, followed by the next business, by the next business, by the next business. And Ms. Piedra, I don't know if you can provide any resources in terms of ability to contact some of these absentee landowners. We can.
You know, I know that we kind of had a little session in the downtown area a couple of years ago. It's just that, you know, many of these business owners down there too are very reluctant to change. And, you know, that's what we were coming across, and you know, they really have to get updated with the trends nowadays, and that's one thing that we got a lot of resistance on, you know. So we've tried, but we have not forgotten that that's one area that really needs a lot of assistance.
If you can help us with a strategy, that
Yes.
we would very much appreciate it.
That's something that we talk about frequently.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay, we'll go off agenda for the next two presentations. Mr. Les Smith with the Chamber of Commerce, our new president, El Presidente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I am Les Smith, the new president of the El Centro Chamber of Commerce. We had our annual dinner back on June 19th. It was very well attended. We had 199 people there that evening, and we certainly appreciate the city's support of being at the event. Since then, there's been a number of things going on around the county. I attended a community workshop meeting with the Imperial County Transportation Commission and Caltrans. They're doing a pretty significant study of all of the port crossings in California, from Tijuana all the way to Andrade. And they were seeking comments and input for not vehicle traffic, but this time they were trying to improve safety and quality of the crossing of bicycles and pedestrians. So there's a big effort afoot to increase and improve that. We had ribbon cutting at the law offices of Ann Zimmerman, celebrating her 10 years on her own in her own practice, as well as a new member to the Chamber of Commerce. We had a ribbon cutting at the new Tractor Supply Company this last Saturday. It was encouraging to meet with the district manager from Tractor Supply Company. They apparently have a number of stores in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico that are near the border, as we are here in El Centro. And they said they do tremendous amount of trade into Mexico. So they're really looking forward to cultivating that business and bringing it to the city of El Centro. So along with that, I was very encouraged to have the opportunity to briefly meet the president of the Mexicali Chamber of Commerce a couple of weeks ago. And I'm anticipating meeting with him again in the next 2 weeks. And we're going to begin some brainstorming sessions and putting together ideas how to improve not only the quantity but the quality of the commerce on both sides of the border here in the Imperial Valley. So, and some of you have extended offers of help, and I appreciate that very much. It can benefit us all. We are currently recruiting for the Young Entrepreneurs Academy again this year, and that will begin in November. It was very successful last year. I believe there was 9 kids that went through that program. We are going to be reaching out from El Centro to Brawley, Imperial, and Calexico chambers this year to try and encourage and recruit young professionals from the members of those chamber of commerces to become members of the Imperial County Young Professionals Organization that's been sponsored over the years by the El Centro Chamber. We want to, there's strength in numbers and get all of the different communities involved in it. And they've done a good job of taking themselves to a stand on their own profitable organization. So we're going to encourage them to try and grow and develop that more. We have formed a community task force, if you will, through the joint chambers. San Diego Gas and Electric, the Farm Bureau, Imperial County is involved, and Aaron Popejoy from the Conveyor Group. We were approached at the joint chambers to try and see what could be done to update and modernize the Imperial County Capitol building display in Sacramento. And we're making tremendous headway with that project. We've got some initial preliminary designs, and the county has indicated that they're comfortable with a significant portion of the funding requirements that we'll be needing for that. And we hope to have it electronically updated, at least on a quarter basis, and by doing that, promote the different valley activities, like Mardi Gras and Christmas Parade and those type of things, so that the rest of the state sees what's happening down here, a little better basis, hopefully. Thursday, I'll be attending the meet and greet for the new American Red Cross CEO for San Diego and Imperial counties. That's at Chevelle Farms. Our monthly mixer will be Thursday evening at the Imperial Valley Mall in the food court, and it is being hosted this month by the Imperial Valley Film Commission. And then on Friday, we will be, along with Brawley, the Governmental Affairs Committee, will be sponsoring the first candidates training seminar here in the Imperial Valley, hoping to get good information to people that have the inkling to run for public office, to get some bare bones training ahead of time before they get their hat in the ring too far, and make sure, in some cases, I'm sure it'll be whether they really know what they're wanting to do or getting into there. So anyway, we look forward to that on Friday. And that's all of my report.
And I want to clarify, Mr. Smith actually came by our meeting in, the first meeting in July when we were dark, not meeting, and I think I gave you some misinformation at the ribbon cutting on Saturday. We will have a meeting, the first meeting in August, but we're planning to go dark on the second meeting.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Any questions for?
I just had one quick, I know that with the new score race, and I kind of understand Imperial's role in this, but anything, are we doing anything to reach out as far as to that community or to those folks and just extend our hotels and restaurants to them as well?
Oh, absolutely. There will be a need for all of the hotels in El
Yes.
Centro to be filled, and all the restaurants will be busy. And they're clearly, I'm not going to say on the top of the list, but they're right there with, because there's not enough room in Imperial for everyone.
So-
And it's anticipated that there'll be more people at the fall race, the end of September, than there were here in April.
Absolutely. Excellent.
So,
Ms. Sanders?
No question. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Maybe just a comment. I do want to thank Mr. Smith and I actually applaud him for his wisdom in outreaching out to Mexicali. I think that's something that will always benefit both communities. And as we spoke before the meeting, the key to commerce is the expansion of the port of entry. And as far as I know, it still looks good for the first phase funding. I don't know if anybody has any other information, but that looks good. That's going to help our community so much.
oh, it'll be a tremendous benefit, yeah.
So thank you for that wisdom. I think it's pretty wise to do that.
Thank you.
No questions, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next, we'll have, let's see, Ms. Berryman is asked to speak to the council with regard to trucks in the neighborhood, business vehicles, and I believe that a copy of a letter dated July 8th has been presented to each council member. Did you want to speak, Ms. Berryman?
Yes, you all have a letter, and I'm here because of the trucks in the neighborhood. Not only do they damage our streets, but there's kids in the areas, and I think they need some place to park. And this particular truck was parked there when I came back from vacation in May. And my son says, "Why is that truck there?" I go, "I don't know." So then I started working on it. I've called tow trucks, I've called business, I've called insurance to see if trucks could be, certain tons could be parked in the neighborhood. The policeman said it's okay, so I don't know. So I'm just asking, take this under consideration and think very seriously of this. This is a neighborhood, and this trucks, this at 10, I don't know what a ton is, 10,000 pounds? 2,000 pounds?
2,000 pounds per ton.
Well, they were saying something about 000, I don't know. But I was calling tow trucks that, I've called everybody. I worked on this a month that I was just a nervous wreck. So I would like, very seriously, you think about, you sit this in your neighborhood, you know, and each side is kind of forgotten, but please, we don't want hay trucks, tow trucks, whatever kind of trucks in your neighborhood. They got a lot of empty parking spaces for trucks on Dogwood in different areas, and they're moving in fast. If you lowered our standards, they're going to be coming in buses, be picking up people. Please take this under consideration. Any questions?
Well, why don't we do this? If we could ask staff to come back with a verbal report at the next city council meeting. So if you would like to be here, we'll meet the first Tuesday in August. If you'd like to come back, that's what, like the 4th maybe? 5th. So if you come back August 5th, staff could then give us an update on parking in residential areas. Commercial truck parking in residential areas.
You don't have, is there a code on this? Because years ago, it was
there is.
hay trucks and all
I-
beef trucks
There is.
was not. But evidently, that got lost in
Yeah.
the
Well, what,
pages.
if we're okay with that, we'll defer to staff, and then if you wouldn't mind coming back, we'll all be educated on.
August, that's kind of my vacation month, but I'll try.
I'm prepared to address
Yes,
the
it's-
issue
there is an
at this
issue
point, and I
about
believe Ms. Villacana is prepared as well.
Uh-huh.
If you just want us to go over briefly what our code says.
Okay.
With respect to commercial vehicles with more than 2 axles, we do have an ordinance that restricts where they can park.
Yes.
It doesn't say all residential zones, though. It very specifically lays out, for example, the Cuyamaca track, Main Street, State Street, Broadway, from the westerly edge of 4th Street extending west to Imperial Avenue, on 5th Street, Cottonwood Circle in the city, Driftwood Drive. So the ordinance doesn't restrict commercial vehicles with more than 2 axles from all residential streets, just the ones that are laid out within this ordinance.
There's a problem, isn't there?
The ordinance can be, Madam Mayor, perhaps, oh, I'm sorry.
There's also a prohibition on off-street parking in the R1, R2, R3, and R4 zone. There can be no more than 1 3/4-ton truck parked off-street in either a residential lot,
Well, see, it's there.
any lot or parcel of property within the R1, 2, 3, or 4 zones. And then,
Ms. Berryman, for clarification, are you talking about trucks, commercial trucks that are parked on the
This-
street,
this-
or
Residential.
trucks that are parked
When
at homes?
It was in front of my house.
Okay,
across
on the street.
Across the street. This was like one of those trucks,
18.
AAA. And then the other one was a long fat bed, like a hay truck, long,
Parked on the street,
on
though?
the street. And the tow truck was parked in the driveway at the residence.
So, as I understand Mrs. Berryman, she's talking about streets that reference what Mrs. Becker has said, not in residential areas. And read that again, I think. I think we need to hear that again. And we went through this some time ago, Madam Mayor, because there were a host of trucks, 18-wheelers and less than, parking in residential areas. As individuals utilize their trucks for their personal businesses, then they park the truck in front of their home, which may be next door to you or either across the street from you in a residential area. Read it again, if you would, please, Ms. Becker.
So for the purposes listed in subparagraph B, it shall be unlawful for any person to drive, park, or operate, or cause to be driven, parked, or operated any truck, tractor, trailer, or any combination thereof normally used for hire, transporting, or otherwise employed to gain commercial profit for the owner or operator on those certain portions of the street lying within the corporate boundaries of El Centro as follows. And then it enumerates 1, 2, 3.
The other section you read was about residential areas. Would you read that, please?
That's the off-street parking.
Yeah.
This deals with on-street parking. The one that I
Okay.
just read, the off-street parking says, it shall be unlawful to park or cause or permit to be parked more than 1 truck over 3/4 of a ton on any lot or parcel of property within that area zoned R1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay.
And then there's one
Residential
more.
Okay, please.
And that deals, it's an on-street parking prohibition of trucks 10,000 pounds or more carrying hazardous materials. They're prohibited from any of the streets in the residential R1, 2, 3, 4 zones.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson?
Chris, can you, I had the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Berryman a couple times on this issue. And one of the questions is vehicles that are, let's say a work truck, whether it's a commercial plumber or air conditioning, whatever, is there any restrictions of that individual parking within their property, so off-street parking? Because you're saying that it's up to one One truck over 3/4 ton.
No more than one truck over 3/4 tons. So he can't, like if a business owner had 2 3/4 ton pickups, he could not park both on his lot or property.
So what if he had a unmarked private vehicle? Because a 3/4 ton truck is not very big. That's just a regular pickup truck. So let's say he had a regular pickup truck, but he also brings a work truck home, which is a clearly defined work truck, which might be a 1-ton. Would that in essence be in violation of what the code is you just read?
If they were both parked off-street, yes.
So it doesn't refer to commercial vehicles for profit, it's just vehicles total.
Yes, it shall be unlawful to park or cause to permit to be parked more than one truck over 3/4 of a ton on any lot or parcel of property within that area zoned R1, 2, 3, or 4. But there's no prohibition, with the exception of these streets that are enumerated in section 1760, there would be no prohibition for having the personal truck in the driveway and then the work truck on the street.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
I see. Okay. Interesting.
We see, at least in my neighborhood, I see 18-wheelers. Trucks and tractors, 18-wheelers. And individuals that are businessmen. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, thank you. So, Madam Mayor, maybe your suggestion of having this come back, and if the ordinance need to be strengthened, we
Yes,
can consider that.
yes, please.
Well, one of the things we'll also have to consider is if we do go forward with modifying the ordinance, is there a posting requirement so that folks are notified that it's illegal to park within certain areas or certain types of vehicles within residential areas? So I think we need to give staff the benefit of maybe a little bit more time and perhaps coming back with a recommendation, whether or not there needs to be a modification.
Madam Mayor, if I may, one question. Chris, when was what's the date on that ordinance?
I need my glasses. The last amendment appears to be 2005.
The only reason I ask about that is because 3/4 ton vehicle is not very large, and in this day and age where families have, say, 2 SUVs, I think we need to be careful about the language on that, because if you have 2 SUVs parked in your driveway, in essence, the way that's written currently, they'd be in violation. And I have an SUV. I mean, there's a lot of us that have SUVs, and if we have 2 of them parked in our driveway, we're actually in violation of that ordinance. So the reason I was asking was I was wondering if it was written before the onslaught of larger vehicles, SUVs, larger trucks. But I think if you drive around the city of El Centro, you're going to find a lot of driveways with 2 trucks or 2 SUVs that would in essence be a violation of that.
So there's really 2 issues we need to look at, both the on-street prohibition within residential and then off-street. I think the one situation that I'm most familiar with is on Wake Avenue, right from the golf course all the way back to La Brucherie. And you'll see 18-wheelers after 18-wheeler after 18-wheeler parked there. I think the guys pull over and sleep and then get back on the road just because of the convenience to the freeway. But it's not marked anywhere to say that they can't park there for overnight or whatever. So let's just do a review. If there's time to do that by the August 5th meeting, that would be awesome.
And Madam Mayor, if I just may make
Yes.
one comment or suggestion, I would also want to hear a little bit of how we would enforce it. I don't know if we have sufficient staff and folks that will be able to enforce it as well, so.
Well, I think that this would probably fall in line with how we enforce, the large motor homes, where we have an ordinance that says you can have them in front of your home for a limited purpose, a limited period of time. 48 hours, and we rely upon, citizens saying, hey, they've had their, RV parked in front of their house for the last 12 weeks, and we'd like them to move it. So there'll have to be some kind of a reporting process.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we hope to have some.
It was solved.
Well, we're working on it. Thank you.
No, the policeman called me and said, you don't have to go to the city council meeting. I didn't come because mine was solved. I came because I don't want trucks. That was the issue, but mine's.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on with the consent agenda. I am personally going to pull items 13 and 14. I notified staff prior to the meeting that I was pulling both items and would ask them to walk through the change orders. Mr. Cardenas, did you want to pull item 15?
Yes, Madam Mayor, can I pull item 15, please?
Yes, anything else?
I won 13, so that's fine.
Okay, I'd look then for a motion to approve items 3 through 12 and item 16.
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Cardenas, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved 5-0. Mr. Hagan, with regard to item number 13 then, if we could walk through, please, the change orders for the project between Orange Avenue and Ocotillo Drive on Imperial Avenue.
I'll be glad to do that for you. There's no impact to the general fund. We went out and got federal STPL funds, $674,000, and then we also had LTA funding, $427,400, and this request is for an additional $20,000 for change order 4. And the current total project cost is $1.1 million. Okay, staff applied for funding back in 2008 for all 4 lanes of Imperial. We were granted $674,000 in federal funds. We went out to, we awarded the contract to Hazard in 2013. The original contract was about $700,000. Construction for the repaving of the northbound lanes was, and the concrete work on both sides of Imperial was included in the contract. If you recall, there was a sewer project that was going to do the southbound lanes. It was going to be an open-cut sewer project. Once we got the bids, we looked at it closer and we rejected those and decided to do a lining project instead. That's still under design. Then on December 3rd, 2013, we approved the change order to do the southbound lanes, and that was an additional $404,000. And so the total budget at that time was $1.1 million. This is one of the slides from the presentation here. Basically, we've added to the original contract, we added the southbound lanes, and it's from Orange to Ocotillo. So Imperial Avenue has been totally repaved from Orange to Ocotillo. It included the installation of ADA curbs or replacement of ones that needed to be replaced, damaged sidewalks as well, curb and gutter, and then engineering recommends approval for change order number 2, which is a reduction in cost of $5,000, and number 3, a reduction in cost of $20,000. Which resulted from deficiencies or decreases from prior approved dollar limits. Basically, when we go out for these contracts or unit cost, and we estimate the amounts, and then when we actually do the work, we track the amounts and then go back and adjust. Change order 4, which is $45,000, is above the prior approved contract limit, so by $20,000. Change order 1 was awarded for the work in the southbound lanes and eliminated all of the contingencies for the project. Change order 2 traded some concrete work, sidewalks and driveways at a net reduction of $5,000. Change order 3 added a cross gutter construction while adjusting down asphalt quantities to those actually placed on the street and eliminated the need for a raised storm drain cleanouts to further reduce costs. Change order 4 added sewer manhole lid raising and rebuilt water valve cans. This is a field condition that we discovered. At an increased amount of $45,000, so the total net contract increase with change order 4 is 1.8%. Any questions?
Any additional questions? Thank you very much for the thoroughness of that report, Mr. Hagan. I think that change orders are something that this council takes very seriously, and we want to make sure that we're understanding all the work that goes into the modification required, make sure that our bidding process is sound, making sure that we're accurately estimating the overall cost of projects, and it's certainly important for us to make sure that the funding sources are there to cover the change orders. So very much appreciate that detailed report. Is done very well. And with that, I'd look for a motion to approve item number 13.
So moved.
I have a motion by Jackson, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed, 5-0. Mr. Hagan, if you could please do the same for the bus transfer. This is consent item 14.
Thank you. May 1st, 2012, council approved plans and specs to go out to bid. September 18th, 2012, the construction was awarded to Hazard for $3.6 million, and we had a contingency of $365,000. Excuse me. Total grant funds available for construction were $4.3 million. So the project's been completed, and we just need the final change orders approved. Change order 1 was $131,000, and these are amounts, and then I'll go into each one what it was. So you've got the first 3 change orders. Change order 2, $151,000. Change order 3, $81,000. And then change order 4, $59,000, and change order 5, $50,000. 4 and 5 need to be approved tonight to close out the project. Change order 1 and 2 were cost increases due to unforeseen existing conditions in the road work. Basically, the soils were low-bearing capacity soils that were discovered after we pulled up the existing street. Required a revision to the design, included thicker concrete in 7th Street, State Street, and the alley. Existing water lines were also too high and had to be relocated and lowered at the intersection of 7th and State. Change order 3 and 4 were building and site related. Bid quantities underestimated the amount of site concrete area in the area of the island and the peninsula. Anti-vandal cages were added to the exposed brass water backflow devices as well. An accessible ramp was added. Additional security cameras were added, and conduit for potential existing or extension of the cameras to the town plaza were added as well. And then change order 5 covers the settlement with Hazard for the concrete column repairs. If you recall, the columns were delivered, and the rebar connection to the footing, there weren't enough of them, basically. So the approved construction contract amount was originally $3.6 million. The final construction contract amount is 4.1. Also included is the design and the construction management with that. So that brings the total cost to $4.8 million, and the grant funding available is $4.9. So we recommend approval of change orders 4 and 5.
And this will totally close out the project. There are no continuing issues, uncertainties.
That's correct.
Outstanding items.
Yes.
Okay. Any additional questions? Again, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Mr. Hagan, for the additional clarification. I'd look for a motion to approve item number 14.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Silva, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, 5-0. Number 15, Mr. Cardenas.
Yeah, Mr. Hagan, I just wanted to just ask a couple questions, and I want to ask the council for just a little bit of patience and just trying to understand this reduction or this recommendation to reduce the bond amount for the Wildflower West subdivision. And Mr. Hagan, if it's not too much trouble, can you kind of just take me through that process? I mean, from a 10,000-foot level, what I'm understanding is that, we agreed to this amount, but now we're making an adjustment. And maybe I'm just a novice to this, but Can you kind of take me through that process on how we reached this recommendation?
Okay, on May 2nd, 2014, we received a request to release improvement bonds for Wildflower West Subdivision, Unit 3. The amount was agreed upon by both city and subdivider after a meeting in June. Staff recommends a partial bond release for the off-site improvements that have been completed thus far. The work completed so far is 87% of the public drainage. None of the public surface improvements have been completed. 71% of the street lights, signs, and related work has been completed. 71% of the public wastewater and water utilities are in. And none of the monuments are in yet. And then 14% of the as-built and traffic control work has been completed. Here's your three different units, the layout there of Wildfire. So bonds to be retained, the monuments will have to be retained, and then we have Winsley Avenue and K. Davis Court. And the total is 1.5, almost 1.6 million. Once the remaining off-site improvements are completed and the monuments are in, confirmed, Unit 3, staff will return to council and release the remaining bonds. So basically, as the developer goes through and does the off-site improvements and they complete the work, they're paying on these bonds every year, approximately 10%. So to reduce that down, they come to the city, request that we acknowledge the work they've completed and reduce the bonds by that amount.
Okay. And again, I really appreciate, Mr. Hagan, you taking the time and your patience as well. But so is it a kind of a common practice for developers to do this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there anything we can do on the front end maybe to address this, where if we know this is going to take place and it's the likelihood that this will become before council, is there something that we can do on the front end to maybe address this, so maybe city action is not required? Or I'm just trying to think out loud. Is there anything any recommendation that you can make that can maybe streamline this process, knowing that this is going to take place?
Chris, do you have any suggestions? Possibly when the developer comes in and if he broke the bonding up into separate bonds and completed those areas of work for each bond, it might be simpler.
But I don't know that that's a delegated
that may not be an
authority.
easy thing to do.
Because when you start getting into.
And maybe we can explain to Mr. Cardenas the need or the necessity to bond for these improvements, and so you can get a concept as to why this is necessary.
Right, our subdivision ordinance requires that when a developer comes in and they, like this home developer, they're building homes and they're required to do the street improvements, the sewer in the street, all the utilities and everything. And because he's not doing the entire facility at one time, he's staging it, he's phasing it. And that's part of the reason why we do this and bring this to council. And we typically just make it a consent item so you can approve it and go on.
All right. Again, I do appreciate our council members' patience, and I appreciate the explanation. Thank you, Mr. Hagan.
Okay. With that, I would look for any additional questions.
I just wanted to add something, Terry, to the explanation. So the bonding is necessary so that in the event that the developer walks away, the city has the funds necessary to complete those projects.
That's correct.
And that's the kind of the grief that I was getting. I'm like, okay, well, we're reducing the bond amount, and that's the clarity that I kind of was looking for, and that's what I received.
I'm sorry.
Yes. All right.
And we have actually had that happen, where the developer walked away, and we were left with an insufficient bond amount because it took so long.
Anniversary.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Hagan.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'd look for motion to approve item 15.
So moved.
Motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on then to item number 17, which is a public hearing to consider the approval of the engineer's report regarding Legacy Ranch Landscaping and Lighting District and levy and collection of assessments related thereto for fiscal year 2014-2015. Mr. Romero.
Honorable Mayor and council members, we're here to have the public hearing to consider the approval of the engineer's report for the lighting and landscaping district for Legacy Ranch and the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2015.
Are there any questions with regard to this? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to agenda item number 17 with regard to the Legacy Ranch Landscaping and Lighting District? This is an annual item that comes to the council's review, or for the council's review and approval. This particular one is for the next upcoming fiscal year. Seeing no one come forward for the public hearing, we'll close the public hearing and return to council and look for approval of resolution number 14-71.
So moved.
I have a motion by Cardenas.
Second.
Second by everybody else. We'll give it to Mr. Jackson. So this is a resolution of City Council of the City of El Centro approving the engineer's report regarding Legacy Ranch Landscaping and Lighting District and the levy and collection of assessments related thereto commencing in fiscal year 2014-2015. Motion by Cardenas, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
you very much.
We'll move on to item number 18.
The next one is a public hearing for the Buena Vista Lighting and Landscaping District. Again, the assessment of the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2015.
Again, this is an item that comes to us on an annual basis. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone present that would like to address this item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing, return to council, and look for approval of resolution number 14-72. Resolution of City Council, City of El Centro approving the engineer's report regarding Buena Vista Landscaping and Lighting District and the levy and collection of assessments related thereto, commencing in fiscal year 2014-2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Romero.
much.
Move on now to public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission on approving negative deck 14-01, change of zone 14-01, and a general plan amendment. Ms. Villacana.
Good evening. Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The project before you is a request for a change of zone and a general plan amendment submitted by El Centro Motors. Okay, here we go. Currently, that parcel of land is zoned downtown commercial, and the request is to change down to general commercial. There's also a general plan amendment attached to this request. The purpose of the rezoning request is to accommodate an automobile facility, sales facility at that site. And currently, automobile sales facilities are not allowed in the downtown commercial. Along with the rezoning, the general plan amendment, the applicant will be required to do some off-site improvements, and they are also planning on doing some improvements within the site. The property that that this project will be located is on the northwest corner of 4th Street and State Street. It's approximately 0.32 acres in size. And it's at the corner of 4th and State. This is an area of the surrounding uses. As you may know, there's a pharmacy to the north of the site. Right across the street, we have the El Centro Regional Medical Outpatient Clinic and the vacant city-owned property. To the east, I'm sorry, to the west is a dance fitness business, and then to the south is you have the El Centro Liquor. Currently, the land use designations for the project site is downtown commercial. And as you can see, everything west of 4th Street is downtown commercial from Broadway to State. As you can also see, there are some parcels east of 4th Street that are still downtown commercial. And what happened was, if you recall, back in 2008, we did a comprehensive update to our land use map. Well, these parcels were never updated, so what we're doing at this time, we're also updating these parcels to become general commercial, the land use designation. And again, what we're proposing with this application is these parcels will become, the land use designation will be CG, general commercial. This is a copy of the site plan that El Centro Motors has submitted for that property. If you may recall, this used to be a used car lots facility. Again, this is 4th Street. Right now there's an existing shade area, and this is State Street. Now, what El Centro Motors is proposing to do is to enclose, there's an existing shade enclosure right here. They're going to enclose that and make that into an office facility. And these are just some of the elevations that are being proposed for the office. So, in conclusion, what the applicant is requesting is to go from downtown commercial to general commercial under the proposed zoning, and also under the land use designation, go from downtown commercial to general commercial. These are just a few of the photographs taken. As you can see, some of the, there are repairs that need to be completed, in particular to the sidewalks. So the sidewalk adjoining the area are in disrepair. So that would be something that the applicant will be required to do when he comes in for building permit applications for the improvements within the site. And that's part of the conditions of approval under a site plan review application. And this is the current shade structure to be enclosed, and this is the alley, and this is 4th Street. So at this time, we are recommending that you open the public hearing and that the project be approved. We have a negative declaration, and then we have the change of zone, and we also have the general plan amendment.
We probably have some questions, so we will go ahead and open the public hearing in case there are additional questions here. Look to council first for questions or clarification.
A couple questions, Norma. I know that when we initially made this downtown commercial, we were trying to follow the project shape and developing the downtown area. I know there was talk at the time of keeping a corridor along 4th Street in the general commercial, and I guess we never did that. Is that what we're looking to do on both sides, east and west of 4th Street? I know I saw some of the rezoning on the east side, but I don't see anything else on the west side. We're going to keep that downtown commercial? Or are we changing everything on both sides of 4th?
No, this is, at this time, the proposal is to change the zone just on that particular parcel. The ideal thing would be for all these parcels facing 4th Street to become downtown, general commercial. Yes. Now, what we're doing at this time is we're changing the land use designation that on the parcels to the east of 4th Street, where before they were still noted as downtown commercial, but they were changed with the comprehensive update to general commercial. So basically, we're just kind of cleaning up this area, but this is the only parcel that's being impacted by this application.
Norm, can I ask you a related question? So on the west side of Fourth Street, what's the land use designation?
From
Along
state?
along Fourth Street, on the west side of the street.
As you can see, they're downtown
all
commercial.
downtown
All these parcels are downtown commercial, all the way to State Street.
But you said we're cleaning up the east side.
Yes, now the west side is remaining the same because that was the intent, that was the original intent back in 2008 to have all, from 4th to 8th downtown commercial, starting on Broadway and State. So that was the intent. So we're not doing that right now. It can be done in the future, but at this point, the application that was submitted was just for this parcel.
Mr. Cardenas.
You know, I was reading as far as the options, and one of the options that you recommended was motion to continue the hearing for a further study. So, but I wanted to kind of get a timeline on when El Centro Motors would be breaking ground and starting construction. Do we have some sort of timeline of when he would start and when they would finish?
I believe a representative from Centro Motors is here.
Good evening, Madam Chair, council members. My name is Tom Tapuzis. I'm with El Centro Motors, and I have with me Robert Valdez, who's the general manager of El Centro Motors. And it's his project. I'm just helping him, so I'll let him address that issue.
Good evening. Would like to start with the fact that the site in particular was a new car part of our dealership there for since 1956, right, that El Centro Motors has been incorporated. And it was a used car lot going all the way back to the first corporation that was formed in Imperial County. So during the 2009-2010 economic downturn, the property was not being used as we built a new building. It was always our intent to open up a separate site there. The zoning was changed at that time, frankly without us knowing about it. So what we're proposing to do there, and we have the plans already done, ready for bidding, and actually already ready to be submitted to the city, is to build a nice used car operation with a full enclosed building with the properly fixings of the lot, and get the lot back to creating sales tax revenue for the city and creating profit for El Centro Motors.
And just in terms, I'm sorry, I must have missed the timeline. When would you start this?
As soon as we have permits approved and ready to go.
And you have an estimated timeline on when it would be completed?
The latest that we've heard from the city was, first, the zoning had to be changed. Right. Second, the plans have to be submitted. Those are ready to go. And we need bidding what is that approximate cost to the project before the plans can actually be submitted, so the permit fees can be properly assessed. Those are basically at this moment in time sitting in the two proposed builders, and a third one will pick them up tomorrow, waiting for zoning to be approved first, because otherwise nothing can go forward.
Now, I mean, you have a beautiful facility on North Imperial, and you know, a lot of traffic, and the idea of expanding in that area. Can you kind of share why that wasn't maybe a consideration?
We have we currently own 15 acres in that area, out of which 9 are built and being used for the Ford and Lincoln dealerships and the Quick Lane. We have 6 more acres that have already been set up for commercial, in which we have room to expand to 2 actually additional franchises. However, we're in a market where the used cars business is quite taken off in the last few years as new car pricing has gone well up. The problem with us selling fairly inexpensive used cars out of a new car dealership is that the consumer expects the over 100,000 mile car, for lack of better knowledge, to be brand new, since it's being represented by a new car dealership. By us opening a satellite used car dealership under a separate name, we can then sell much less expensive vehicles that are currently going to the auction and create a different market where the expectation is not quite the same.
And I buy locally, and I'm a big Ford guy, so I bought a lot of vehicles and from Centro Motors. But is there any plans for you to do any type of servicing vehicles, car washing, any of that type of work going to be done in that area at all?
At that particular
Yes,
site,
sir.
absolutely none.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
And can I just say, is there an ordinance, if we were to go the other direction, is there an ordinance that would prevent maybe that type of work or anything like within that scope in that area?
Well, I think we need to clarify, because I think the staff report talks about, page 2, it talks about the applicant has also communicated their desire to wash the vehicles at the site.
The
Discharge of runoff would be prohibited.
The site is actually, the part that's actually under shade was originally a wash facilities for the previous dealership across the street. That is going to be closed. It's going to be actually cemented over, and that's going to become a full enclosed building. The idea of washing there, the only washing that would take place is periodically a wash truck would come by and spray the vehicles as they sit, like we do in a new car lot, and the water will then run off. But it's a treated water, it's specialty water that just basically dusts the vehicles off. It would be impossible for us to actually take cars one by one down
Right.
across the street, across town to be washed.
But again, just in terms of oil changes, brake repair, auto body?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. And none has ever taken place there either.
Yeah.
Okay, can we readdress the issue then with regard to the runoff, I apologize, my phone. The runoff from the washing, that's not going to occur, will occur, won't occur?
Very limited runoff exists, especially in our temperatures. When we're spraying the vehicles, the water is treated for no staining of the vehicles and so on. So the water comes actually from our car wash at the new facility and is processed and treated that way. So when it's sprayed by a sprayer. Very little water actually ends up on the ground, and usually will dry up right off dry where it's at within minutes.
So Ms. Villacana, as long as there's no runoff, that would be okay?
There's, as far as runoff, I mean, if you were having a vehicle lined right there on the front corner, as you could see, and you were washing that front car, you may see a little bit of runoff that would get into that corner, but that's about it. I mean, we're not talking any set runoff.
Yes, there was a site plan review completed for this project, and that's one of the conditions of approval. What I understand is very minimal water is going to be, it's going to be released. However, the condition reads that because they're going to do a little bit of landscaping, or they need to contain the runoff, if there's any, within their site. There should be no runoff into the city street or sewer system.
So it has to be contained on the property
On the property,
boundaries.
yes. And I believe they have informed us that they have no problem with that because of the limited amount of water that's used when they wash the cars.
Yeah.
Did you have questions?
Yes, I just wanted to know, how many vehicles do you think you will be able to park there for sale? How many used vehicles?
About 30 to 35.
30 to 35, okay.
I was just going to comment that when El Centro Motors was there, they actually used hoses and buckets and sponges to wash cars, and now it's all done by high-pressure deionized water. And so, as Robert said, generally by the time the water gets to the ground, it evaporates pretty fast, and we're going to have, as was noted, some landscaping there. So if there is any runoff, it's going to run off into the landscaping.
My question is for Norma. Norma, can this be addressed in a instead of a zone change in a CUP? The reason I ask that question is because once we change this to general commercial, and let's say this purpose doesn't make it. Let's say they're in business for a year or two, they decide to close. The fact that we rezone it as general commercial could in essence allow them to open a quick loop or any kind of maintenance type facility that would be permissible under a general commercial. And I know at the time when we looked at Project Shape and the fact that we were looking at the different zones, that was one of the things that we were trying to prevent. So is there a way to keep it as a downtown commercial zone, but address it through a CUP or some other method specific to this use and this project?
Unfortunately, no, because there's no land use designation for this type of business, even with the CUP under the downtown commercial zone. There's no category.
Okay.
But to Mr. Jackson, if I may, Madam Mayor, to Mr. Jackson's point, should 5 years from now, someone else wish to come in and put in a particular business that might be different, completely different than this, what would that new operator need to, would do nothing, just come in and put the plans
Most
in?
likely, if it's a different type of establishment,
Would have
it
to
would
come
be a
back.
site plan review.
Okay, all right. So we do have something, some mechanism in place.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may add, I don't know if you may recall back in 2007, 2008, when we were having our public hearings for, there was some discussion about leaving these parcels that are facing 4th Street general commercial. I don't recall the reasons why. I think it was decided that, no, we're going to be from 4th to 8th, but there was some discussion because I remember at that time, these property owners did not want to be downtown commercial, so we decided everything west of 4th Street would be downtown commercial. That was discussed back then. Because some of these, if you see these properties, a lot of them front 4th Street, which is heavily traveled, so it could be considered, it could handle more heavy commercial uses.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I have just a couple of questions, and we'll go back to Mr. Silva. Ms. Villacana, within the staff report, it made reference to that the sidewalks along both 4th Street and State Street are in disrepair, are also being proposed to be improved in the future, and I think that you said that would be part of the permitting process, that there would be a requirement that the sidewalk improvements be done at that time.
That's correct.
Right?
It's within the site plan, and
It's part of the condition, isn't it?
I'm sorry, but I have a copy of the site plan that was just recently done, maybe less than a month ago, and that's one of the conditions of approval.
Okay. What about parking for folks that are coming to buy cars?
They are deficient and that's also addressed in the plan. Right now, they are deficient one parking space. The parking is based on the office space, the square footage of the office space. So they are deficient one parking space. So again, when they submit for building plans, they need to do some revisions to the site plan to include that extra parking space, off-site parking.
Okay, and have they proposed a site plan where they actually show what the site would look like if there were 30 to 35 vehicles parked on that lot?
No, that was not submitted with the site plan.
I think I'd be interested to see how we fit that many vehicles, plus parking, plus the office, plus I think you said that there's going to be some landscaping.
Yes.
Proposed. And can you give us a little more information with regard to the landscaping?
Yeah, there's a requirement, let me refer to that condition. 15% under the general commercial, that's, under the downtown commercial, there's no landscaping. Under the general commercial, there's a 15% landscaping requirement. So again, the site plan that was submitted with the site plan review application needs some revisions. So basically, they need to provide where the landscaping is going to be. 15% of the site has to be landscaped, and also that additional parking space.
And obviously, we would prefer that the landscaping be on customer-facing.
Right. And that's part of the condition, that 80% of the landscaping has to be facing State Street and also 4th Street.
Perfect. That will look really nice. So parking, landscaping, sidewalk repair, all addressed, and those were my big issues, as well as the discharge of runoff. So, sounds like that's all taken care of. Mr. Silva?
Madam Mayor, I had a question on the sidewalks, which
Yes.
you've asked.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if the future is now. It appears that the future is now.
It is now.
I had a question on parking, which you've also addressed. And I had a question on the landscaping, which you've also addressed. So the only thing that maybe I can address is, can you put the elevations, Norma, please? What are the exterior, what's the exterior, stucco? I can barely see the,
Yeah, it's
the legend on the.
stucco, yes, exterior stucco.
Just wanted to make sure that it fit within a commercial building, yeah.
Yes, and I believe they're going to use earth tone colors, and this is stone veneer right here.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Okay. Yeah, no. Mr. Cardenas?
Just one, and just in regards to lighting, was there going to be any upgrade to lighting in that corner, or was there anything in there regarding lighting, or is the lighting sufficient?
It's already there.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe there's adequate lighting.
Okay.
I think the last question maybe was that there was a concern in the staff report with regard to prior history of, property crimes and that sort of thing. So are there plans for maybe enhanced security measures that would maybe make that a little less attractive?
Possible cameras, since we now have, possibly cameras, since we now have that on the other facilities. But the area around 4th Street is completely blocked by poles, and there's only one driveway in. Even though there's 2 driveways on the site, there's only one actually in possible operation, and that is the one on State Street, and that is chained at night.
Okay.
In the past, when we were there, and I've been involved since 2001, we had no vandalism whatsoever in that section.
Very good, thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to discuss item number 19? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, return to council, and look for approval of resolution number 14-73.
Second.
Motion by Silva, second by Cardenas to approve Resolution 1473, resolution of City Council of the City of El Centro adopting negative declaration number 14-01 without monitoring plan for change of zone 14-01 and general plan amendment 14-01. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries 5-0. We'd look for approval of ordinance number 14-15. Ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro amending the zoning map of the city, I'm sorry? 14. Ordinance of the City Council, City of El Centro, amending the zoning map of the City of El Centro pertaining to change of zone 14-01. Waive reading and approve as a first reading. Direct staff to schedule second reading and adoption of ordinance on the August 5, 2014 City Council agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Cardenas, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Finally, approval of resolution number 14-74. Resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving general plan amendment 14-01, changing the land use designation from downtown commercial to general commercial.
Second.
Motion by Silva, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Ms. Villacana, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to downtown.
Good luck. Thank you.
Downtown business.
Very good. Take care. We'll move on then to item number 20. Ms. Piedra, public hearing to solicit input on the annual performance report for CDBG program income.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. This is actually a requirement that we have to comply with the State Department of Housing and Community Development, given that we do have state grants that were awarded to the city, and we are generating program income, and it's a requirement that we hold this public hearing to report on what activities were completed with program income, and also to submit our annual performance report to the Department of Housing and Community Development. As indicated in your council report, there was 3 activities that were allocated program income, and that is money for program administration, basically to operate the CDBG program. We set aside $18,400 during this fiscal year that was closed for program administration, and then we also fund a portion of our fair housing activities with program income. We set aside $13,800 for those purposes. And then we also set aside $59,800 for the Carlos Aguilar improvement project that we're in the process of getting completed. So for the fiscal year of 2013, there was $92,000 that was allocated from program income. Of course, in your report, on the program income report, we indicate the program income that was received during the 2013-14 fiscal year. We received a total of $72,853. We expended $12,385, and then we total activities, which encompasses closing out projects that we completed in the past fiscal year, was $410,007. And so this is the report, and of course, we're going to be revising it because are in the process of closing the fiscal year, so then the report could be revised, but tentatively, this is the information that we have. One of the statements that was included in the report, which is an issue that we're dealing with right now with the state of California, is now that we have become an entitlement, and given that the state has been reviewed by HUD, of course, us being an entitlement, they have changed the way the state is administering program income, and that's with all jurisdictions that work with the state. Effective July 1, they have basically indicated to our city that we need to make a decision whether or not we're going to continue reporting to the state or whether we just work directly with HUD. Right now, we've been going back and forth with the state and, of course, with HUD to determine what's our best option and how to proceed. And it appears that we have basically 3 choices, and those are being evaluated as we speak. And the state and HUD are having their conversations, and they in turn obviously are going to contact us to determine what direction we want to go. The 3 options that we have and that have been presented to us is, one is if we continue reporting to the state as we have been doing since we became an entitlement back in 2004, is we have to set up revolving loan fund accounts. In that particular case, what we need to look at is what money is, what type of activity is generating our program income. And in this particular case, basically 90% of our program income is generated through loans that were made through our housing rehab. So that being the case, is we would have to basically set up a revolving loan fund account, and any program income that we get, for instance, in this particular program year, we received $72,000. So that would be set aside just for housing rehab. The other option is if we report directly to HUD, we go through that process, which we are doing at this time, where we look at our program income and we identify money for either public services, for infrastructure projects. Basically, it's up to the community to determine how you want to allocate the funding. And the last option is, if we don't report to any agency, is just return our money back to the state and allow them to distribute it. And so those are the choices currently that we're evaluating with them. Our first indication was to perhaps continue reporting to the state, but now given that we're basically kind of just basically told you need to do the housing rehab activity because that's what's generating your program income, I don't know if that's the best course of action for the city, given that we do have other needs in the community. And so that's what we are evaluating, but it is an issue that we're dealing with right now with the state, and it's a change that just occurred effective July 1, so it's impacting basically now this current fiscal year. So we'll continue reporting on that, but it is an issue, and I wanted to make sure that I brought it forward to this council, that it is something that we're currently evaluating.
But the choice is yours.
The choice is basically the city's choice.
Okay.
At this point. That's correct.
Questions for Ms. Piedra on agenda item 20?
No questions, Madam Mayor, but I certainly, I certainly hope as we look at which is going to be the best options out of the three, I would prefer this middle option. If that is, it seems to me to be the best because we have many other projects and programs that we could utilize the money for. And I think this council has demonstrated a great deal of sensitivity to this community's needs.
Certainly don't want to send it back.
No.
That's for,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Option number 3.
Yeah,
I
option
don't-
number 3 is
yeah, I
not
don't
an
think we're
option.
gonna-
Right, okay, this is a public hearing. We'd ask any members of the public to come forward. Seeing no members come forward, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and look for approval of the submittal of the city's annual performance report for CDBG program income.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Jackson, second by Silva. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piedra. You can go back to being our acting city manager now. We'll move on to new business item number 21. This is a discussion and necessary action regarding the city council election years. You'll recall that the Charter Task Force came forward with a number of recommendations about 2 months ago.
Yes.
And they were asked to go back and finalize a recommendation with regard to election cycles. So turn it over to our council members, please.
We want to, first of all, Madam Mayor, I'd like to thank the staff that worked with us. We had the city attorney as well as Ms. Grace Connor from the city manager's office. We were tasked with going back and having an opportunity to revisit based upon the recommendation that we had made in May. After a thorough review, we came to very similar conclusions with 2 different caveats. And it's listed there in your background material. One is we would work with the Chamber of Commerce and with our particular public relations firm to assist us in moving forward to engage the public and making sure that they would know that it is important for them to get out and vote. We don't think it's important, we don't think at this time that we would want to move to district elections. We don't think that our city is large enough to accommodate that. And we want to know that historically this city has, well, not only this city, but the nation as well as the state has seen about a 20 to 25% voter turnout. That just seems to be the best that we can do, even in an election year. I mean, a gubernatorial or a presidential election year. A couple of things that we discovered that might be the driver for individuals going to the polls would be an issue that's pertinent to them and what's going to be happening for them lately, so to speak. The other is the candidate themselves that may be running that could excite the electorate. So we hope that if we engage the services of the chamber, we ask that they, excuse me, I don't know, there's something in this room that's causing my allergies to really flare up. We've asked the chambers to work with us to make sure if they're going to have a public forum, they do it early enough so that it in fact can be significant and important for the voter as they make a decision. Secondly, we are going to continue to work with the various service clubs that are having candidates forums that they could open that space and allow the opportunity. And the third is to actually put aside some monies to help drive this. Now, the monies cannot be used for a particular issue and advocating for a particular candidate or a proposition that may be on the ballot, but rather just as informational to get the vote out. And if there's any other thing that's legally regarding this, I will defer this question and toss the ball over to Ms. Becker as it relates to the funds that can be used. Public funds can be used to for informational purposes when it comes to election.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and not to advocate for a particular candidate and/or a particular position on a proposition.
Well, I think it gets even more discouraging. The statistic that you noted was somewhere between 17 and 24, 25% of registered voters. And we know that there's a whole boatload of other people that are otherwise qualified to be registered voters, and they themselves aren't registered to vote. So that it further reduces the number of folks that are actually making all the decisions.
Yes.
Unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but the high propensity voter are that small segment.
Yep.
That's the high propensity voters.
Well, I appreciate the advocacy and outreach efforts. I think that is definitely something that we need and that we need to pursue. So, thank you, Ms. Sanders. Mr. Cardenas?
No problem. And I also wanted to thank Liz. I see Liz out there, but she was very, very helpful, and Diane as well. She went ahead and provided us a bunch of information, included some analysts or some analysis of what we can do, and just to echo Ms. Sanders' comments, and I actually appreciate her leadership in this particular item. But, you know, we just have to get them out there to vote and work with our service clubs, work with the chamber, have it early enough to get those folks to come to the polls. And then there is the task also of if we were to pursue district elections or even years, I mean, there's quite a bit of work that would need to take place. I mean, we have over 15,000 registered voters. We would have to send out mailers to them. We would have to, you know, put some information in the newspaper. There'd be, you know, postage, printing, and a bunch of costs related to changing the ordinance. But I think right now, if we get out there and do our part, work with our service clubs, we will get that excitement and get those folks to the polls.
Excellent. Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much to staff. Thank you very much to our task force members. At this time, we'd like to seek approval of the task force recommendation that no changes be put in place with regard to election years from odd to even, and recommend staff to work with the El Centro Chamber of Commerce and with city's public relations consultant to increase voter turnout and participation.
Move
So
approval.
moved. Second.
Motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. We have an added item coming out of closed session. We have a motion to add the resolutions pertaining to 3 bargaining units.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Cardenas, second by Sanders to add. All in favor?
Aye.
We'd like to do this by one motion to approve resolution number 14-75, which is a resolution of the City Council of City of El Centro establishing terms and conditions of employment, including compensation for fiscal year 2014-2015 for our certified wastewater treatment plant operators.
Second.
I'm sorry, I have a motion by Silva, second by Jackson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Look for approval of resolution number 14-76, resolution of the City Council, City of El Centro, establishing terms and conditions of employment, including compensation for fiscal year 2015. This has to be a typo. 2014 and 2015 for supervisory, professional, and technical employees.
Move approval.
Second.
With the necessary correction.
We have a motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we'd look for approval of resolution number 14-77, resolution of City Council, City of El Centro, establishing terms and conditions of employment, including compensation for fiscal year 2014-2015 for general employees unit.
Move
So
approval.
moved.
Motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. That concludes the action items. We have 4 informational items. There's no scheduled business for either the successor agency to the redevelopment agency or the successor housing agency. Are there any additional public comments? No additional public comments. We'd move forward with task force reports. Let's combine this with the mayor and council member reports, and we'll start with Mr. Jackson.
Okay. Not a whole lot. Did attend the El Centro Chamber dinner and certainly welcomed, thanked Jaime Honold, our outgoing chamber president, and welcomed our new president, Les Smith. Had the opportunity to work with my service club, the El Centro Kiwanis Club, in participating in the sale of fireworks this year. And I hate to put the chief on the spot, but I did have a question. Did we have any incidents during the 4th of July? Zero. Good. Excellent. I think in speaking to the other three organizations, I think all three or all four of us, the service organizations, did very well in fundraising. And the only question I had was if we had any incidents, and it doesn't look like it. So I think the community was very happy to see fireworks come back to the city of El Centro, and I'm just glad we didn't have any incidents, and we'll look forward to next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Silva.
Thank you. I also attended the Chamber annual dinner. Enjoyed that a lot. Welcome our new Chamber president. I also attended the Tractor Supply ribbon cutting that he mentioned. It's a wonderful store, it really is. It's got everything but tractors. But everything else is there. I suspect that they're going to do very well. If you were kind of keeping your eye on the news, you would know that Imperial Valley was kind of on the national attention again a couple of weeks ago as it related to the undocumented migrants from South America. And I want to thank the mayor for the comments that were made by you, Ms. Mayor, to some of the national media. I think it showed the compassion of El Centro, and you reminded the nation what Imperial Valley and El Centro is about. So thank you for that. Your absence, however, gave me an opportunity to get my 10 seconds of fame, in that I was also interviewed and came out on CNN a couple of weeks ago. And so thank you for being absent, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in CNN. That was kind of exciting. I also want to tell the council that another benefit of being Oatley recipient from a month or so ago is that I have been invited to meet the Mexican president, Peña Nieto, in August. So I will be traveling to LA and have a meet and greet with the Mexican president. So that's exciting too, and I look forward to that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Mr. Cardenas.
Well, I'll try to keep this real short, but I've been pretty busy, and I wanted to share first that in regards to the Friends of the El Centro Community Foundation, I want to thank Ms. Becker for all her support, but we have set up our foundation. We have received our tax ID. We have set up a bank account with CVB, and we have deposited $11,000 into that account as we speak. So a lot of work. It was the rollover, but there was some issues with that, and but we were able to open up that account. It's active. We have officers. We had our first meeting. We accomplished a tremendous amount of tasks. I want to thank Terry as well for her help and stepping in. Just a lot of stuff that we accomplished, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of this. And I want to thank the council for letting me be a part of this. But this is going to be a huge resource for not only our library but also Parks and Recs. I was also able to participate and attended the Parks and Recs commissioners meeting last week, and again, I can't I just wanted to share that we have some excellent leadership among our commissioners. I see Mr. Rodriguez out there. The numbers that Pat's running in our Parks and Recs is incredible. Over 3,000 kids are participating in our Parks and Recs program. And so they are busy, and the parents that take their children there, they're very pleased with what we're doing in terms of our Parks and Rec. So hats off to that entire department. The downside is that we had to turn away 100 kids. 100 kids. These are the half pints, and they call them the half pints. They're 3 to 6 years old, and we just did not have room, facilities, and staff for these kids. So maybe that's something that we can maybe look at, but the commissioners are on top of it, and just incredible. We do have the premier Parks and Recs program when it comes to our city. So again, excellent work on the parts of Parks and Recs, and I appreciate Mr. Rodriguez out there and his passion, and Terry as well. Also attended the library trustees meeting as well. I want to commend the mayor on Mr. Tyler, who's out here as well. He brings a lot of wisdom and passion to that group of folks as well. Mr. Banks shared that in the month of June, we had over 10,000 visitors to our library. So again, it is a very important city asset. There are people that are using those facilities. There is a lot of things that are happening in those areas. And I think the trustees are going to get pretty busy in terms of, and they're actually excited about the feasibility study as well. And it looks like we're going to start ramping up and start planning up meetings for the task force for that. So I want to thank the mayor for her wise appointment of Mr. Tyler, and welcome Mr. Tyler aboard when it comes to those activities as well. So a lot of things happening in terms of Parks and Recs and our library folks, and encourage you guys to visit, be a part of it, and again, excellent work on the part of our staff. I really appreciate you guys and providing these programs for our children here in El Centro. Great job.
Thank you. Ms. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. ICTC, I'll start there first, if you don't mind. Of course, we had that meeting, and you've heard and read in the paper the projects of Dogwood Bridge widening at $33 million. That's wonderful. I-8 and Imperial Avenue interchange is coming forward at $39 million. Then Mr. Smith also acknowledged that he had participated in the focus group as it relates to the border study and how we're going to do border crossing. One of the interesting concepts that came from one of the participants was, if we are so worried about the border crossing and how we get pedestrians back and forth in a more timely way along with bicycles or any kind of two-wheeled motorized or either pedaled, if we use the model of an airport, airports move millions of people and we don't have any problem. So I thought that was a revelation from that young man who came forward and said, well, why couldn't we use that type of a model to frame something to increase the border crossing and make it more expedient? I thought that was excellent. The second thing we talked about, of course, is Seaport Airline, and I know this is very near and dear to your heart. They currently have Mr. I can't even think of his name. I want to call him Jeff, Mr. Dale. Mr. Dale came forward and told us they had 9.5 emplanements. They need a total of 10. They're worried about losing the support, so everybody's drafting support letters and trying to encourage Congress to move forward. He's got the support of everyone in the Valley and certainly his congressional member, Mr. Vargas. The Aquatic Center met twice. They had a trip to Yuma, Calexico, and Brawley, and I anticipate a full report will be ready for you the first meeting in August.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to give you this so you could just see the types of discussion that took place at that focus group.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. On June 20th, I had an opportunity to participate as a member of the Public Safety Policy Committee meeting in Sacramento as part of the League of California Cities. On the 1st of July, did attend the Anne Marie Zimmerman 10-year anniversary celebration. On the 2nd, David Green's retirement reception was held. On the 10th, I had an opportunity to participate as one of about 10 mayors at the Southern California Leadership Council in Los Angeles, and was able to meet with a number of business leaders and two of the former governors. Governor Gray Davis and George Dumajan were both present for us to talk about issues facing cities and how do we work better with the business community to address those issues that are plaguing us, whether it be affordable housing or job creation or educational attainment. So there's a lot of really great dialogue there. Also attended the Tractor Supply Company ribbon cutting, and I agree with Mr. Silva. That place is amazing. It's definitely worth a visit. With regard to the essential air service, the process that we're going through right now is that the Southern California Association of Governments is assisting us with the preparation of a waiver document that will be submitted with the Department of Transportation. And the waiver is essentially saying, you're correct, we didn't hit the average of 10 per day enplanements. We're at 9.5. Please give us another year to get our numbers. Ms. Piedra participated in a telephone call this morning, or this afternoon. The waiver, I think, will be officially filed, is it next week, with the Department of Transportation. Community support was very evident. I thank Mr. Silva for obtaining a letter of support from the Mexican consulate. We also received letters of support from all of the chambers of commerce, from both hospitals, from a number of businesses, number of geothermal companies, the Imperial Irrigation District, and of course all of the government agencies. The Community Enhancement Task Force will meet tomorrow. The council chamber remodel, based on reports provided by Grace Connor, is going very well. Mr. Jackson, did you put in your support for one or the other chairs? I think that was on our task list. We needed to decide which chairs we wanted to try out.
Not the
I
ones like
did,
this you're
yes.
sitting in.
No, we're not doing the ones that we're sitting in.
Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
1 and 2, yeah.
We need to decide on chairs, but the project is moving along
What's the
very, very well.
projected completion date?
I think we're going to be back in October, I thought.
October, yeah.
I think we're back in, does that sound about right, Diane? Or Ms. Caldwell?
I think that plaque was set October, right?
So, the last thing I wanted to kind of circle back around to, and this was on our consent agenda as item number 10, it's the memorandum of understanding with regard to the regional animal control item. This group continues to meet. City of El Centro has a number of active participants, including Executive Commander Aaron Reel, representing the police department, and there's a number of subcommittees of this group. And if any other members of the council are interested in participating, let me know, and we'll definitely get you connected for the next meeting date. But with that,
I have a question before we close, Madam Mayor.
yes.
Being that we have the Labor Day, and immediately there following would be our council meeting, and the day after that would be the day to attend the League of Cities annual conference, has any thought been given to going dark that first Tuesday in September?
We would then have back-to-back, we would be absent an entire month then, because I believe we're meeting the first meeting in August. We're not meeting the third Tuesday, so we'd miss our second meeting. And then if we did that, we would have an entire month.
We would have too much fun? Is that it? Okay.
There would be a pretty big gap,
All right.
is what I'm thinking.
If we chose to meet that third week in August, would that be an option?
Why don't we leave it to staff to come back with a recommendation at the August meeting? I think that people have probably already started to plan their vacations for that third meeting.
I think, well, staff has been working on, assuming that we're not having the second meeting in August, and
Yeah.
assuming we have 2 meetings in September.
All right. We just thought we would ask.
All
Good
right.
try.
All right. Anything else to come before the council? Very good. Then we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Great job, Terry.